Well, many thanks for joining us. This is QTV News with me, Ansumana Isonyasi. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. We have a special report on the closure of 9 penny appeal orphanages. Their closure was prompted by a tip-off from QTV. Serekunda General Hospital will be closed to the public from next week while it is converted to a COVID-19 treatment center. Over 14,000 grade 12 students have started taking their delayed WAS exams. In international news, a coup d'etat appears to have taken place in the West African nation of Mali. In Belarus, hundreds of thousands pour out onto the streets demanding the president's resignation. And in sports, Gambian forward start his season in Northern Macedonia in great form. Well, stay tuned as we bring you more on this and other stories. Last week, an undercover investigation by QTV prompted the forced closure by government agencies of 9 orphanages run by a UK-headquartered charity, Penny Appeal. Well, tonight, in an exclusive special report, we hear children who were at some of the orphanages narrate allegations of torture, exploitation and sexual abuse during their stay in the charity organization's orphanages. Mohamed Lamin Choi has been investigating, and this is his special report. While some viewers may find some of what is narrated upsetting.
Alleged child abuse and exploitation at Penny Appeal orphanages in the Greater Banjul emerged last week when an initial joint investigation by the Department of Social Welfare with all the relevant authorities led to the temporary closure of the charity's orphanages after it was found out that it was operating illegally as it was not registered. The investigation by the authorities was prompted by a concerned citizen who contacted QTV based off campaigns we had done on various social issues. After our own preliminary investigations, we contacted the relevant authorities with our evidence of serious allegations. Penny Appeal is a UK-based charity organization which claims to reach out to 30 crisis-hit countries worldwide to provide humanitarian assistance to the less privileged. It is known to operate at least 9 orphanage centers across the Gambia, especially in the Greater Banjul area, into which hundreds of children have been registered.
Child abuse cases, especially sexual abuse of children. Sexual abuse of children. These are capital offense, or they are very kind of like cruel treatment for you to have children being sexually abused in this country, and the law wouldn't have not allowed it. The government or any relevant stakeholder would not close its eye or give it a deaf eye without taking appropriate action.
According to a press release by the Department of Social Welfare, the allegations of child abuse by the charity organization in the Gambia are being investigated. Children whose identities are protected in this report have narrated their experience of torture, sexual abuse and exploitation. There have been reports that Penny Appeal orphanages in the Gambia receive at least £186 per child quarterly for their basic needs. The image sold to the world in all the Penny Appeal's promotional materials, including websites, brochures and videos, is that the orphans are well taken care of in terms of feeding, medication, education and so on.
Brothers and sisters, I was truly surprised. Inside, they have a clean house. Individual children have individual beds. They've got a space where they can socialize, they can play, they can meet their families. They've got a kitchen where they're getting fresh food cooked and served to them. They've got foster mothers looking after them.
That narrative is contrary to what is seen in this mobile footage, which shows dozens of children at a Penny Appeal orphanage in Bigelow sleeping on the bare floor and sharing small mattresses, a scene which shows the children's very poor living conditions. I have been at the center for 5 years. The living condition is terrible. We are about 60 in number. We have 2 toilets, which you cannot flush unless you draw water from afar. Our mattresses are horrible and not enough for the number of us. Most of us sleep on the floor. Although we eat, it is never enough. And we are never full. Sometimes, when we are hungry, we go out of the orphanages, unsupervised, to look for scrap materials to sell to buy food. In the middle of the night, while most of these children are asleep, some of them are reportedly regularly sexually abused by adults living at the orphanage. When less attention and care is given to children of such number living together, the consequence can be unbearable for the young ones. Yes, there are difficulties we face. For the younger ones, there are some older ones who regularly sexually abuse them. We report it to our guardian, but she dismisses us and says we are lying. Proper feeding, shelter and education are some of the basic childcare needs for every orphan. In this Penny Appeal orphanage and others, the children have a different experience, although each of them attends a school. One of our child sources, who can speak with authority, having spent 6 years in the custody of Penny Appeal, living in some of its centers in the Gambia, claims that out of all the centers, only the one in Yarambamba stands out as being in good shape and where children enjoy proper care and basic facilities. We are unable to access and inspect the other facilities to confirm such a claim, but this one in Bijilo is without facilities needed for a child to live a healthy and comfortable life. Children at these orphanages also claim to have always been subjected to torture.
The condition is so terrible. About 60 students living in the same place, suffering no television, something like that, and they locked the door. They said no one should go out. But I feel boring. I went out 8 o'clock to watch Qtv, and I come back home and they start complaining. They call Uncle Dugre. The following day, they came around 2 years and he beat me 100 cuts.
Penny Appeal's promotional videos capture different scenes of children in bad shape and living condition for the purpose of garnering charity support from donors. This one shows children at what appears to be the back of the dump site, where children scavenge and were filmed, and the video published on their YouTube channel. Whether prior parental consent was taken is unclear, but this child claims to be one of these 2 children featured in this Penny Appeal promotional video. The child says that he was never informed that he was being interviewed for a publication and that his parents were never consulted.
Seems they have said my name all over the world. They use it as commercial.
This story of alleged child abuse and exploitation was reported to QTV by this man who lives next to this orphanage in Bijilo, and it was his complaint which we brought to the attention of the authorities, triggering a joint initial investigation by the Department of Social Welfare and other responsible agencies. Both Adam Kasama, the complainant, and a parent to one of the allegedly abused children, the latter speaking on condition of anonymity, are calling for justice for the children.
Why I bring this story is that because I'm very, very close to these kids here, and they used to come to my home. I provide them food and clothes, different things that were medical things. Sometimes they come here for my wife. We used to help them for that. But as times goes, that they start to tell me stories about sexual abuse, stories of exploitation, and other sad stories, and the horrible living condition in their place. So then I make a search and I make some kind of investigation about it, and then I see that this is something really that going on in the country.
Reaction from Amir Khan, a former world champion boxer and founder of a charity partner to Penny Appeal, who built an orphanage complex in the Gambia and is seen in much of Penny Appeal's promotional material, has expressed his shock at the revelations and also notes in his words, when there's an allegation of child abuse and nasty stuff like that, there is only one solution: shut it down immediately, investigate the allegations, and if proven true, bring culprits to justice. And Penny Appeal's statement seems to suggest that the alleged child abuse happened at a local community-based organization they support in the Gambia, and that Penny Appeal has been reaching out to the relevant authorities in the Gambia and have informed the Charity Commission in the UK of this through a serious incident report. We sent an email to Penny Appeal ahead of this broadcast, but setting out some of our findings, requesting an interview. We appreciate they may not have had time to respond, as the email was sent late in the afternoon. If they do respond, we will be willing for them to be given a chance to put their side of the story. Mohamed Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
The Sarakunda General Hospital will be converted to a COVID-19 treatment center from next week, and doors will be closed to the public. According to the Ministry of Health, the move is necessitated by the increase in numbers of the coronavirus cases in the country. Babu Karsi tells us more.
The news of the hospital's closure to the public has been confirmed to us by the Director of Health Services, Dr. Mustafa Bitey, who says the move is prompted by the increased demand for bed space for COVID-19 patients.
We've already requested for that from the Carnifing General Hospital. And they are looking at it and looking at the best way it can happen. So the reason is that it's a contingency. You have patients who are COVID positive but will need other type of treatment, specialist treatment. Maybe they will need surgery, maybe they will need other things. And so we want to redistribute the patients as much as possible. So COVID patients that are going to different hospitals within this catchment area can all come to Carnifing General Hospital. And then the other cases that were supposed to be in Carnifing General Hospital will be redistributed to the other facilities also.
The Serekunda General Hospital is one of the public hospitals in the country which the public rely on for treatment, and according to Dr. Bitey, patients suffering from other illnesses will be directed to other health facilities.
I think the message we are sending is that all the people, any COVID doesn't exempt anyone. So even the people who go to Carnifing can get sick, can get COVID, and everybody can get COVID. And so we need to put in very good places also that will consider other conditions, not only the medical conditions, but also including the surgical conditions. Yes. So yes, you can put in very good hospitals, you can put in other measures like beds in the stadium and others, but to get a good field hospital that can do, for example, surgeries, deliveries for COVID patients will be very difficult, for example.
Okay. So if the General Hospital in Serekunda is turned to a COVID-19 treatment center, does that mean that people with other sicknesses like malaria and others will not have the right to go to the Carnifing General Hospital?
So there will be a system to show each one where they should go. There is just a redistribution. People will go to other facilities. So everybody will be catered for. But you will see that all the cases from other facilities, COVID will come to that place, and the patients that were supposed to be in this place will go to another place. So that we use the mixing of the people who are sick.
The latest contingency plan is to prepare the health system for what is described as a possible major increase in the number of cases of COVID-19 in the country. The number of cases recorded as of 18th of August include 244 new cases, bringing the total to 2,116. 63 people have died from the virus, while 415 have recovered, with 311 people under quarantine. Babu Karsi, Qtv News.
Over 14,000 students across the country began their grade 12 exams on Monday. The much-awaited exams was delayed for months due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Lolly M. Kamara tells us more.
Before students could sit their exams, the authorities had to make sure all precautionary measures had been taken in the fight against COVID-19. The Minister for Basic and Secondary Education, Madam Claudiana A. Cole, embarked on school visits within the West Coast region, South and North, and the Greater Banjul area to access and monitor the availability of PPEs and other equipment needed to protect these students. The visit gave the minister the opportunity to see and gain first-hand information on current situation in schools. This year's examinations should have taken place earlier April this year, but they were delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic. The minister used the opportunity to urge teachers and students to continue observing the safety precautionary measures as they sit to their exams and wish the candidates a very successful examination. In a similar activity, the Permanent Secretary with MOPSI, Luis Moses Mendy, and the Deputy Permanent Secretary for Admin and Finance, Jairus Sanyang, also visited schools in the Banjul, Carnifing municipalities and parts of Region 2 and 4 to observe students taking their final exams.
The attendance is very impressive, except for one school where about 10% of the registered candidates have not turned out. But apart from that, in most of the schools, it's either one or two candidates, which is less than 0.0 something percent. So that is, to me, very impressive. And I think that was what we wanted as a ministry, to ensure that we organize the exams and the student to respond by going to sit to that exam.
The Permanent Secretary shared his observations during the visit and advised students to take their examinations seriously and called on parents to encourage and allow their children to go to school and do the exams, as education is everyone's business.
Let us at this point come together and encourage our children. They are our children. All of these children are coming from families. If I do my bit, you do your bit, someone else does his or her bit. Collectively, we will see a change. So I'm encouraging everybody to allow the children to go sit to their exams. Staying home would not be very helpful to the students. It would affect their future, it will affect our generations, and we'll be accountable for those.
In the wake of coronavirus pandemic, MOPSI and its partners have put in place many precautionary measures, guided the recommendations given by the WHO and the Ministry of Health to ensure there is conducive environment which will protect the students at all times. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
A newly built police station sponsored by the Office of the Inspector General of Police and the natives of Kaur was inaugurated over the weekend. The new building, costing $1 million, is described by natives as one of the best things to happen in the history of the area. Babu Karsi has the rest of that story.
The natives of the area expressed delight and appreciation for the newly built police station in the region. This is the first of its kind in the area, and the nearest police station is almost 10 kilometers away. The Office of the Inspector General of Police partnered with the donors, mostly natives and residents of the area, who contributed $1 million to build the station. At the opening ceremony, the Deputy Governor of Central River Region, Lamin Dabo, thanked the IGP for coming to the rescue of the village and its surrounding, and advised the people to make good use of the station.
This is something that we were yearning for. It is something that we were looking for so long. Fortunately, with his intervention, we are able to get this within a short period of time. The people, the officers that are occupying that room, that office, see them as your friends, see them as relatives, see them as brothers, and you see them as sisters, because you are partners in development. You cannot go without police. Police cannot be here without the community.
The Inspector General of Police, Momar Job, who is also a native of Kaur, said the intention is not only stopping at Kaur, as there are more projected police stations to be constructed, as well as a regional headquarters in URR.
I undertook to move the police station from where it was since colonial time. And this project that we have completed today was built in a space of 1 month, 20 days. From this station, I will also mention that Kuntaya is also in progress, and hopefully before the end of this month, Kuntaya will also be completed. And also, going on to URR, I have 2 big projects. One of the projects, somebody, a Gambian, supporting the police department in building, for the first of its kind, a regional police headquarters.
Inspector General Job promised the people of Kaur and the surroundings that the newly inaugurated police station will be developed into a standard one before the end of the summer.
I am also committed to make sure that this police station that we are here officially opening will not be only an office, but inshallah, before the end of this rainy season, they will have structures of their accommodations, that anybody that is posted here, you have a quarter to stay in.
Other speakers included the Alcalo, Baba Jajusi, the National Assembly member for Lower Salom, Seni Jawara, veteran retired police officer Seni Mbai, who all thanked the IG. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
And from that report, we take a short commercial break. And when we come back, the news continues with international and sports news. Do stay tuned. Well, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is QTV News. In international news, tens of thousands of anti-government protesters took to the streets of the Belarusian city of Minsk over the weekend, singing protest slogans and shouting "Leave at the President." The protest is part of a nationwide march for freedom over last week's disputed presidential election, which many believe was rigged. Omar Pijalo has more.
Belarus is witnessing mass protests triggered by an election widely believed to have been rigged in favor of the incumbent, longtime leader Alexander Lukashenko. Lukashenko, who is Europe's longest-serving ruler, came to power in 1994 amid the chaos caused by the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Despite the official results and showing that Mr. Lukashenko won with 80% of the vote, the main opposition candidate insisted that where votes have been properly counted, she had pooled 60 to 70%. This triggered opposition to take to the streets in disbelief and anger at what appeared to be a tampering with the results. Following a violent clash between opposition demonstrators and police on the night after the election, which led to 3,000 arrests in Minsk and other cities, numerous allegations of police brutality were made as police fired tear gas, rubber bullets, and stone grenades to disperse crowds. Widely seen as a dictator, President Lukashenko has tried to preserve elements of Soviet-era communism. Much of the manufacturing industry remains under state control, and many media channels have been little more than tools of the government. At the same time, Mr. Lukashenko has tried to style himself as a hardline nationalist with a direct manner, defending his country from negative foreign influences and a guarantor of stability. However, opposition politicians have noticed a shift in mood, with people complaining of persistent corruption and poverty, a lack of opportunity and low pay. This was compounded by the coronavirus crisis. Opponents considered Mr. Lukashenko's handling of the virus as reckless and a sign that he is out of touch. After he suggested combating it with steam baths and hard work, the iron-fisted ruler has rejected calls to quit after the election. In a live address to his supporters on Monday, he warned the former Soviet Republic could perish as a state if it was forced to repeat the vote. He said, and I quote, "You protesters have become involved in politics, but remember there are different rules in politics which you have rushed into without understanding. There are these rules, so it wouldn't be painful for either me or for you when we could lose the state." He continued by saying, "If you don't want to go to work and want to leave, nobody will push anyone. Please go ahead. The doors are open from today. I am sorry for the unpopular way of saying this," unquote. Washington, D.C. said it was following the situation in Belarus. The European Union is reportedly drawing up a list of officials in the country who could face sanctions. The EU also described the recent vote as neither free nor fair. Britain has declared the re-election of Lukashenko as fraudulent. When President Lukashenko visited a factory on Monday, he was greeted with shouts of "Leave, leave." A year ago, such an occurrence would have seemed unthinkable. President Lukashenko has also reached out to his long-term ally, Russian President Vladimir Putin, for support. However, the Russian leader has not made any public reply to the call. A Russian government statement simply said it expects the Belarus problems to be solved. Reporting for Qtv News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Now, it appears there has been a coup in Mali with news that the president has been seized by mutinying soldiers. Several witnesses and security officials in Mali have said there was gunfire at an army base near Mali's capital Bamako on Tuesday. The country is currently mired in a political crisis which has so far defied peaceful resolution. Mahmoud Mboj has more.
Earlier on Tuesday, there were reports of gunfire at an army base in Kati, a town 15 kilometers outside the capital Bamako. The Norwegian embassy, according to Reuters news agency, said that it had been alerted of a possible mutiny in the armed forces and that troops were on their way to Bamako. Later on in the day, news emerged that senior government officials, including the president and prime minister, and senior military officers had been arrested. According to Dutch Welle news agency, its reporter who is in Bamako said, "At the present time, the situation in Kati and Bamako is still very confusing. Panic reigns in both places. It's also not completely clear whether it is just a mutiny or a military coup." The national radio station, ORTM, was evacuated. All roads to Bamako had been closed and soldiers had been positioned at checkpoints carefully inspecting vehicles. The report further stated that more and more people are gathering at Independence Square in support of the military, even though it remains unclear what the demands of the military are. ECOWAS, in a statement, urged the soldiers to immediately return to their barracks, and the statement continues, "This mutiny comes at a time when, for several months now, ECOWAS has been taking initiatives and conducting mediation efforts with all Malian parties. The French and Norwegian embassies progressives have advised their nationals to stay inside their homes. The country has been in political deadlock for months, and President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta had been under fierce pressure from the opposition June 5 movement to resign. The June 5 movement is a loose alliance of opposition and religious leaders who seem implacably bent on removing the president from office and had carried out in June a series of protests which led to about a dozen deaths. All attempts at mediation, including region-wide efforts, have so far failed. The beleaguered president has been blamed for the dire economy, perceived government corruption, and a protracted and brutal jihadist conflict that has been ongoing for 8 years, and there appears to be no end in sight. Regional countries have been deeply worried about the region-wide implications of the jihadist insurgency, which has spilled into neighboring countries such as Burkina Faso and Niger. It remains to be seen how events would unfold in the coming days. For QTV News, I am Mamadou Mbouch.
August 18th is celebrated as World Never Give Up Day to cultivate the mindset of determination which helps us get through all the difficult challenges that life throws our way. Well, in the era of COVID-19, we probably need such a day more than ever. More in this report.
World Never Give Up Day is about motivating and inspiring ourselves and others, as well as remembering people that have never given up. The day is used to applaud people for reaching their goals, but also support those who are still trying to achieve their goals and are yet to get there. There are many examples in all walks of life of people who embody the spirit of never giving up. In March 1999, USA's highest profile swimmer across 3 Olympic Games and the winner of 5 gold medals, Gary Hall Jr., in March 1999, Hall's wall, while in training for the Sydney Olympics, he struggled to understand why he was feeling constantly fatigued and permanently thirsty. He took a trip to the doctor where he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. It was of course extremely challenging for him to be told that his swimming career was over. However, he did not give up on his dreams. He continues fighting to overcome the challenges life throws at him. He became the first athlete to compete and win a medal after being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. For people with life-changing condition, there could be few greater or more passionate advocates for not letting it hold you down or define you. In the last few months, the pandemic has infected many people and affected many lives across the globe, and QTV is no exception to this. Despite of our colleagues being infected with the virus, we still deem it necessary to keep on giving out accurate and quality information every day. One of our colleagues, Ansumana Isonyasi, who contracted the virus weeks back and was admitted at the quarantine center, took to social media to inform fellow Gambians about his experience at the quarantine center. Despite his health challenge, he never gave up and now back on his feet and fully recovered. There is a quote attributed to Mandy Hill, creator of social media movement, The Single Woman, which says, "Never stop trying, never stop believing, never give up. Your day will come." The pandemic has impacted the lives of many frontliners, and some have even lost their lives. However, that has not stopped the majority of their colleagues who are frontliners for putting their lives at risk in order to save other people from the pandemic. Refusing to give up gives you a brand new perspective on things. It enables you to find the wisdom and strength you need for the next steps. If Liverpool can wait for 30 years to win the English Premier League, who are you to give up easily? Keep fighting and never give up. Marie-Louise Nsanyang for QTV News.
And over now to sports news. Forward Dembo Dabo scored his 3rd goal of the season for Skopje in their 3-1 home win against Macedonia. It came after scoring twice last week, helping his side into 2nd place after 2 matches. Wamoudi Gajaka has more.
The top scorer after 2 matches in the 1st Division League of the Republic of Northern Macedonia. Undoubtedly, Dembo Dabo is in fine form so far, although it is early days of the new season. It was in August last year Dembo signed a 2-year deal that will see him at the club until 2021. After impressing the team's coaching staff during a month-long trial, he was offered a contract. Born in Brikama, Dembo Dabo says he has even bigger ambitions after signing his first professional contract. The former Real de Banjul and Jambour forward said he can transition to a better league in Europe. For now, he is going about things in exactly the right way. Mamutu Gajaga, QTV News.
And before we end this bulletin of the news, here's a recap for main headlines. We have a special report on the closure of 9 penny appeal orphanages. Their closure was prompted by a tip-off from QTV. Sarakunda General Hospital will be closed to the public from next week while it is converted to a COVID-19 treatment center. Over 14,000 grade 12 students have started their delayed WAS exams. And in international news, a coup d'etat appears to have taken place in the West African nation of Mali. In Belarus, hundreds of thousands pour out onto the streets demanding the president's resignation. In sports news, a Gambian forward starts his season in Northern Macedonia in great form. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of the news. On behalf of the entire production team, thanks for watching. Join us tomorrow for more news. Bye-bye.